Today I'm bringing you a quick video that focuses on decluttering your sentimental items because this can be one of the hardest categories for people to declutter. And the last video that I made about sentimental items was decluttering some of my own sentimental items, and it has gotten a lot of views as well as a number of questions that I thought I could address today and give you some more tips to really help you dive into this most difficult of categories. Welcome to Simple and Healthy Mama. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Kate. I am a stay-at-home mom and YouTuber, and today we're talking about decluttering sentimental items. Before we dive in, would you please do me a favor and look below this video and hit like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when my new videos drop. And of course, the best compliment you can always give me is to share this video with others. All right, let's dive in. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Whoa, hi big guy. I know, you thought dad humor was bad. But the elephant in the room is that sentimental clutter is probably stuff you don't really want to get rid of, or you know that you need less of, but you don't like the idea of parting with it because it's sentimental. So I think for that reason, it's the most difficult category for a lot of people to tackle. So I would suggest not starting with getting rid of your sentimental clutter, but leaving that for later in your decluttering process so that you can build up your decluttering skills and build up your confidence that it's really going to be okay before you get to the sentimental stuff. Sentimental clutter is one of the only categories in which it actually would be really difficult to replace the items once you declutter them. So you do want to make your choices a little more carefully in this category, as opposed to something like your sock drawer, where if you really needed another pair of wool socks, you could probably go get those somewhere without too much expense or effort. But I don't want you to fall into analysis paralysis, where you're afraid to make decisions and afraid to get rid of anything because you might mess up. So we end up keeping things that we no longer need or want or are using because they're sentimental. And some of that's okay. You can keep things that are really important to you. That's fine. But you have to recognize that your home only has so much space, and if it's feeling cluttered, then you need to go through and figure out what things you can be finished with so that you can live in a more peaceful and calm space. And the goal here isn't to get rid of all of your sentimental clutter. It's to declutter to a point where you feel like you have the right amount for you. When something is sentimental to you, that is often the extent of its value. Sorry, but I'm trying to help here. A lot of sentimental things really just need to go in the trash when you're ready to be finished with them, and I think that can make this category extra difficult because it is special to you and you don't want to just throw your special things in the trash. What I would suggest for that is, if you know that you can't really donate it or rehome it somewhere appropriate that it will be appreciated because it's something very sentimental. No, we're not actually getting rid of this. This came home from school recently. This was a gift from one of my kids to the other kid, but Goodwill can't resell something like this. It's unique and special just to our family. So when we are finished with this, it will just have to go in the trash, which feels really cold-hearted and brutal sometimes to just throw special things in the garbage. What I would suggest is having a box, and as you declutter sentimental items, just fill that box, close it up, and you don't personally throw it away. Just ask some other adult in your life to make that box disappear for you. Consider what sentimental items you can actually use in your home rather than just hiding everything away. And I'm not saying that a memory box is bad. I actually highly recommend that everyone in your home has some sort of box, container, time capsule that you can put your most special things in that aren't things you can display. Like, I actually have some notes my best friend and I wrote each other in high school in my memory box, and I just love them. They're so funny, but I can't use them for anything and I can't display them. So they take up some of that precious space in my memory box. Whereas other things like candlesticks that we got for our wedding, although they are fancy Tiffany candlesticks, we use these every night in the winter at dinner because it makes us feel fancy and special, and why not use them? And yes, there's a chance things could get broken this way, but things are also meant to be used. So if you think you could handle the off chance that they might get broken, then go ahead and just use things. I know a lot of people struggle the most with getting rid of items from a loved one who has passed. If this is what you're going through, I am sorry. It is hard. It is so hard. So this is like a subcategory within the category of sentimental items, and there's a lot that goes into grieving and going through the items from someone, especially if you are very close with them. So approach that with the most grace and kindness you can find for yourself. What I would recommend for that is to just quickly make a pass through all of the stuff that you know you need to go through and get rid of anything that is obvious and that is easy for you to get rid of. There might be a few things that you can just toss. You might even find trash in there. So get out anything that's easy so that you have a better sense of how much stuff you actually do need to deal with. Then I would recommend enlisting a friend to help you so that they can be there to support you. They can be there emotionally to support you. Also, sometimes it's best to have them just sort of make the things disappear. Maybe they could commit to taking a load to donate or wherever it needs to go for you, so that once you've made the decision, you're not being forced to continue to look at those items and second guess yourself. It's best if this person wasn't also super close to the person who passed, because if they're also going through the grieving process, they might encourage you to actually be keeping more things when your goal is to go through it and get it down to a reasonable amount. Which brings up the point that you're going to need to decide how much space you have for these items, and that will help you know how much of them you can reasonably keep. You might want to give yourself a set number of items that you can keep, or have an actual container or a certain shelf that things are going to be on, and whatever fits there is what you're going to be able to keep from that loved one. Consider repurposing items. I have two people very close to me who both have a quilt made out of the shirts of someone that was close to them who passed. They're beautiful, they're useful, and they take up a lot less space than keeping someone's entire wardrobe. Most of all, please remember that you get to decide what you keep and how you live your life and what you want in your life. So don't feel obligated to keep things just because they belong to someone special. You can get rid of the things without getting rid of the memories of that person. You can get rid of the things without getting rid of the memories of that person. Which brings me to my next point, take a picture. Almost all of us have really good cameras now on our smartphones, so just snap a picture of something if you are ready to get rid of it, but it actually does remind you of a really fun memory or something that you like being reminded of when you see it. Take a picture, make a special album, make sure it's backed up somewhere. Digital album, I mean, you can print it if you want to, but the idea is to declutter stuff here. So then you have an album that can trigger those memories without having to hang on to the actual stuff. Please do not just give all of your sentimental clutter to someone else in your life. That's not really decluttering, that's just passing your problem on to someone else who you supposedly love. When my parents were downsizing, they had to get rid of a lot of stuff, and my dad kept giving stuff to my kids, and I had to tell him that he had reached his limit because he was just filling my house back up with the things that he needed to get rid of. So we talked with the kids about picking a few of those things. Absolutely, they can keep them, but you can't just give all your stuff to someone else and make it their problem. On the other hand, my brother just said yes to absolutely everything that was offered to him when my parents were downsizing, because he knew that if they could give it to him, that would make them feel like they were finished with it. They'd done the right thing, they'd founded a new home, and they could move on. And then he can look at it at the end and see what he had and what he actually wanted to keep and get rid of what he didn't. All right, it's happening. I'm mentioning buy nothing again in a video. This could be a drinking game. But I highly recommend you join your local Buy Nothing group. If you don't know what that is, it's a Facebook group and it's by neighborhood. If you don't have one in your neighborhood, you can also start one and be the administrator. It is, I think, the best thing on the internet these days. And you don't sell anything, you don't trade anything, you just give things to neighbors in your group when you're finished with them. And you can get rid of things that are hard for you to get rid of and actually see the person they're going to. So for me, that can be much easier with these sentimental items than just dropping it off at a donation center, which feels rather cold, or even selling it, which is a good option if you need to do that. But I really just wanted these things to go to a good home, as people say. So recently we dropped off a homemade stool, like a kitchen helper stool that my husband had custom built for our kids when they were little, and we got a ton of use out of it and have so many good memories of them using it, but we do not need it anymore. And the funny thing is we had also built a cradle for our babies and had loaned it to someone, and it had come back. And when I went to deliver the stool to this woman who's going to be a new mom in my Buy Nothing group, I had the cradle in the back of my car as well. And I asked her, would you possibly use a cradle? And she was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. So I was able to give her these things that I was pretty sentimentally attached to. And I felt really good about seeing her smiling face and imagining her using them. And now they're out of my life and no backsies. But also, just because you've had something for a really long time does not mean that you have to keep it. I actually decluttered some Christmas ornaments this year. It had never even occurred to me to declutter Christmas ornaments, but I was hanging some on the tree that I'd been hanging on the tree for 30 years. And I realized I didn't even like them. I didn't have a particular memory associated with some of them, or it was a set of things that I made when I was a little kid, tinfoil stars with glitter. And so I realized I could just save one and get rid of the rest because it was too much. We actually almost ran out of branches to put ornaments on this year because we have so many ornaments. Which reminds me, I want to tell you that it is okay to break up sets of things. If you have a set of your grandma's china and you don't really use it that much, but you think that you would use 2 teacups and 2 saucers because every Friday afternoon you have tea with a friend and you are keeping the entire set because you feel like it should stay as a set, I want you to let go of that. It's really, really okay. You can post things for sale on replacements.com, or you can bring them to a thrift store. And people are thrilled sometimes to make really cute, eclectic, mismatched sets with all these beautiful china pieces. So it might be that you're hanging onto a set because you don't want to break up a set, and someone else has enough teacups, but they broke all their plates over the years. And so if you donate those plates, someone might be thrilled because they go with or complement what they have at home. Alternately, sometimes I think it's okay to keep all of something and then pare it down later. Cass from Clutterbug says that she just has a box for the year for her paperwork and she just stacks stuff up in there and then declutters it. And I think this would work really, really well with your kids' artwork. So if you had a certain box, cube, cubby, folder that all of your kids' artwork went into when it came home from school for the whole school year, then at the end of the year you can flip through it, laugh, talk about it, and then get rid of most of it and pick the most special things to save. Be sure that you're only keeping what fits in your space. I actually have a few more sentimental things in my dining room than I would have if they had to go in my kitchen. But we have these lovely built-in cabinets. I don't have anything else that needs to go in that space, so I have the space for it, and they're not causing me stress with the amount of stuff that they have in there. And I get to see the things through the glass doors, so I don't have to dust them. So it really works for me to have some sentimental items in my dining room. However, if I did not have these cabinets, I would probably get rid of about 90% of this stuff because it wouldn't warrant precious, precious cabinet space in my kitchen. So try and remember as you go to only keep what fits in your space. All right, did I address most of your questions about sentimental items? If not, please drop a question below and let me know if there are other things that we need to discuss to help you in this most difficult of categories. In the meantime, give yourself grace and space, as one of my viewers said. I love that. Grace and space with sentimental items. Take your time, intersperse the sentimental decluttering with other stuff so that it's not too taxing on you. You can do this. Until next time, you've got this, guys.